So today we're gonna dive into a topic that I think all of us are working in hospitality feel very, very closely. Yeah, what our beloved guests will actually expect in 2026. So we invited some cool guests, and yeah, the last years there are so many changes actually happening, how people travel, how they choose hotels, what they care about when they arrive, when they leave the hotel, and it's not going to slow down. There are so many changes happening still, and will come in the future. So we're seeing all kinds of new guests arriving out at our properties, new behaviors, and yeah, there is so much expectations that the guests have today. So our goal is basically to not overwhelm you today with whatever is out there and just throw it out to you, but we want to make sense and give you like little practice and little pieces of great advices and great trends that are coming up. And to help me and help us with that, we've invited a great panel today. With me there are three beautiful amazing professionals, and I'm super excited to call them now out to me. So we have first one on my screen is Maria Notze. She is based in Sweden. Say hi, Maria. Yeah, where you from, what you do, and your favorite Christmas song.
Hey everyone. I am originally from Germany, but live in Sweden now. Have been living here in Sweden for about a year, and I am a customer experience and hospitality leader. Have worked in the hospitality industry for all my life, so over 20 years now. Very excited to be on here today. And my favorite Christmas song, it's a bit of an interesting one. It's called the Merry Wheels on the Bus. So technically, it's a Christmassy version of the Wheels on the Bus go round and round. And that is because I have a son. He's 2 years old, and he loves everything that has to do with cars and buses. So we've recently come across this book, and it's been a big hit. So
Nice.
it's on repeat here.
Very cool. Very cool. And the next guest that we have on our panel is Thibaut. Thibaut, say hi. And what's your favorite Christmas song?
Hi guys, so my name is Thibaut. I'm originally from France, as you can hear my accent, of course. But I'm the CEO and founder of Catala Consulting. We do revenue management for hotels across Europe, and since 2018, we're now celebrating almost the 8 years anniversary of the company, and we have helped more than 450 properties across Europe elevate their revenue performance, and the team has been growing. So if you are looking for a job in revenue management, we are definitely hiring and looking forward to grow in the next few years again. My favorite Christmas song, I would say it's a French song, and it's also because I've grew with this song, which is Petit Papa Noël, which
Aw.
is for me is maybe that's even known internationally, but for me is one of my favorite Christmas song. Yeah.
Cool. Very nice. Very nice. And welcome again. And then last but not least, my favorite colleague, Mark.
Oh, I'm going to tell everyone you said that, Julia. Hi, everyone. My name's Mark. I am the sales director for BookBoost in the UK. As you can tell, I'm not from the UK, originally from South Africa. And I've been in hospitality tech for the last 15 years or so. And probably keep the little theme going. I've got two young children, so it's been Jingle Bells and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer all day long.
Very good. And to round things up, mine is all-time favorite Mariah Carey. I'm sorry, Thibaut, I have to say it. She's my all-time favorite, and when I hear it by the December 26th, I'm already also done with her, but I'm always excited the first time in November when her song comes up. Then I know, okay, Christmas started. So All right. Thank you so much for the introductions. I'm super happy, and I hope you all are already in kind of like a Christmas mood. But before we start, we would like to also hear from our audience a little bit. We're gonna launch a quick poll to get a little feeling of what you're gonna expect from today's session. So it's gonna be on your screen right now, and you can poll the first one. So what do you like to get out of this webinar? Learn what guests will expect next year, discover fresh strategies and ideas for the new year, understand how other hoteliers are approaching next year, and identify the biggest challenges and opportunities. And let's see. Yeah, wow. Okay, this is a big one. Learn what guests will expect 2026. So we are on the topic. That's very good. I'm super happy. Let's wait and see. Maybe there is some other changes happening, but it looks quite. It's okay, cool. So it is definitely where people want to learn what guests will expect. So let's jump right in. I'd love to start my first question with Thibaut. So Thibaut, from you're talking to so many hoteliers on a daily basis, from what you see in your work, what is the trend that is related most to guests that has been like the most important in the past, but also won't be as important maybe next year? So this year and last year's it was super important, but then next year it's not going to be that much.
That's interesting, because I like to say, and that's an overall trend I see across different industries, but starting with hotels, which is okay. We are talking about personalization, but I do believe we are going to move from this kind of surface level personalization to real authentic personalization. In a way, I've seen a lot of hotels focusing on using the guest name, or even saying like "Welcome back, Mr. Katara," which is simple but actually very hard to do, and all those kind of generic upsell sequences, or like those kind of a general touch, which are not very warm, not very human as such. So I do believe the biggest trend that we are going to see in 2026, we're already starting to see it already, but it is kind of a human connection, human personalization. Yes, we need to continue leveraging AI, continue to leverage tech, to leverage whatever we can, but not to replace the human element and to replace this human feeling of the hospitality industry. And for me, that's the biggest trend I'm seeing, and I keep repeating it. So I apologize if I sound like a broken record. We are not in a B2B sector. We're not in a B2C sector. We're in the edge-to-edge sector, which are human to human. We are working with human, we are accommodating human, and we need to keep this kind of personalization, this human touch and human connection. That for me is the biggest trend of 2026.
I love that. Human to human is perfect. And is there anything where you think, okay, hyper personalization and making it more human, the touch that we have, is there anything that you would kind of recommend also because it's quite broad, obviously, but is there a particular idea what you say, this is what already I've seen with some hotels, or some hotels are already doing?
First of all, you need to show you care. It's the most important. Show that you have done a bit of homework. Ask questions which are quite personal, not personal, but in a way, if you see there's a kid next to you, focus on the kid and say like, okay, what do you like to play with? That's human. It's not like a script. It's not scripted. It's not a robot. It's not an AI. It's just human connection. Or you feel that they have been traveling from New York. I'm sure it has been a long journey. How do you feel about that? What do you want to see in France and so on? I keep going back to France, but you see what I mean. It's more like there is no script. It's not a robot. It's more about this kind of authentic human connection, and that's something which we cannot script, and we need to train people to recognize those patterns and to be human, be authentic, and being able to open a conversation with our guest.
Yeah. So I guess also in that sense, knowing the guest before they actually arrive. So you mentioned they're traveling from New York, so you already know they're traveling from New York, so you can prepare that touch point already. Or knowing that they're coming with a kid, you already prepare like a I don't know, some sort of thing that you can send to them before
And
they
tech
even arrive.
and tech is super important for this. It's not to replace. It's not something like you're going to put in front of them like an AI. You use the tech, use AI to gather information, to gather data, to
Yeah.
help you do this kind of human connection. And that's important. Like AI tech is very important. It's here to stay, but it's here to make your job much more fun and much better and much more extended. That's my kind of biggest trend, in my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. So going from this into something that I experience actually a lot is there is a big change that happens over the past, and that's kind of like putting people in just one box where people actually belong in different boxes. And one of this box is kind of having what we call bleisure guests or hybrid guests. So we're talking about this now, that you are actually not only a person that is traveling for work, but also a person that is traveling to relax, to book maybe wellness sessions, and so on and so forth. So Maria, since we're talking about this now, because there is this mix now of of these people, or of me as an example, what is one thing that hotels need to keep in mind to be able to reach these guests, to actually grab those guests and make them feel welcome and heard?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And Julia, I couldn't agree more with you. So definitely we see a lot of hybrid guests. So as you said, we don't have that typical one business traveler coming through the door anymore, that typical one leisure traveler who's really just there to relax. So everything's kind of like blended a lot more over the years. So we're kind of seeing that people really they want a bit of everything. So I think one of the things that I always like to talk about is that it's very important that hotels start to design for that kind of, I like to call it that flexible intent. So kind of like, I think Thibaut touched a little bit on that. We're not really targeting or marketing or welcoming those kind of like personas anymore, or those specific segments. Everything has kind of blended. That those personas don't really exist anymore, and I think that's really cool in a way, because it's kind of like life itself, right? Like when you think about life, like we don't fit into boxes as humans. Like we're not just one or the other. So life is not kind of just black and white. There's so much color in between, and I think that's kind of how I like to see the traveler these days as well. And I think it's so interesting that when people stay with you, those kind of modes from being maybe a business traveler, being a leisure traveler, everything in between, that can shift for people several times kind of during their stay, even several times during the day, right? So it's really important, I think, that hotels learn to blend, to kind of blend all these parts of like a traveler's life together. So it's not just exclusively one or the other. I think hotels that will learn to blend all those parts, they will win in the future. They will continue to win if they're already doing a really good job at that. And yeah, it's just we can't, as hoteliers, we can't really kind of, yeah, we can't ignore, I think, how fluid life is. As I said, like it's so colorful. There's all these nuances. So we really need to anticipate these shifts. And I think, just like Thibaut said, that's where, you know, like technology comes in. Technology is there to support your team, to make sure that they can talk to people, that they have the time to, you know, take the time to talk to people, that they're not tied up in all these like basic administrative tasks that repeat over and over and over, right? So that they have a lot of time to, you know, really just talk to people and kind of understand what's going on with you today. You know, what is it you're looking for? What is it that you need? Anticipate and recognize. I think that's kind of the takeaway here. So yeah, very much reflecting what Thibaut said.
And I think also when you think about the hotel portfolios that we used to have, like you have business hotels, you have wellness hotels, you have family hotels, all this, And Mark, I take you as an example because I think we talked about this so many times already. You travel sometimes for business, and then your family joins in at the later point of time or whatever, and you change from a business travel to this. And even if you stay in only like a solely business hotel, this business hotel may potentially need to think about, okay, how can I make, even though I'm very lean, I don't have a restaurant, I don't have a bar, but how can I make use of my local community to actually offer all these things to my guests without them actually asking me for that, but being proactively already advising people, especially in this direction. I think that's something that we all need to think about outside the box, not only like in our little box, in our business box, but exactly blending all this. And this is a great comment. And Mark, I'm gonna ask you now, what do you think is, like, we briefly talked about this, but what is like the biggest expectation guests will have for next year, and how can properties prepare for this? I mean, I gave you already a little hint, but there we go. We're gonna ask you as an expert here, being in the industry for so long.
I think it's quite clear, actually. I think the trend over the last few years has been tech has been coming in from a operational point of view. We've seen that tech is coming in to solve for the negative parts of a guest's stay. So we was talking about, hey, tech's there to remove friction, and it's fantastic that it does. If we think of things like online check-in or contactless payments, or those types of things have really improved my stay because I don't have to stand in a queue, or I don't have to, or digital keys, or these are all things that I expect to continue. But we've seen that over the last few years. They're coming from how do I remove a negative from the guests, right? How do I take away that pain point? But I think what we're going to see going forward is actually now there's an opportunity to go, how do I use tech to add a positive to the guest's stay, right? So now, instead of enhancing by removing the negative, I'm going to enhance by adding a positive. How do I do some of the things that my front desk agent, who's so good at their job, does? When they recognize there's a family, or when they recognize you've traveled far, or but like Thibaut was saying, and I'm not saying about replacing, I'm saying provide that data, provide that guest data, so that you now have this opportunity to have a positive engagement. Because I think it's one of the things that hospitality has always been a bit reluctant about with tech. They don't want to lose that human to human, like Thibaut was mentioning. And actually, you don't need to. It needs to be seen as that positive. I've got all this guest data. They've come from New York. They're traveling with a family. They've traveled far. They only checked in at 10 p.m. I know all these little snippets, these touch points. I know exactly what I can now do to really add that wow, to delight, right? Because that's what we want to do in hospitality. So my expectation is to see the shift from removing the frictions, which hopefully people are all doing or have already done, which is just about taking away the negatives, to now looking at how can I use this guest data to add a positive? How can I think about what they did last time, or what they ordered last time, and leave a note in the room, or present them with this opportunity to, if they enjoyed this activity last time, here's something quite similar that they might enjoy as a family. Without boxing them, you're absolutely right, Maria. I like red wine and white wine. Don't just, I want the choice. But I would be quite delighted or impressed if someone said, this is what you enjoyed last time. Would you like to try it again, or would you like something different? These are where the opportunities are with the guest data that's available, to provide that positive, instead of just always looking at how do we remove a negative.
Absolutely.
Can I just bounce on this one, because I think it's a great one. I use an example in my class. Do you remember? It's going back now. W and Starwood, and they used to have someone at the front office just in charge of creating some wow moments. And the only job was to do some homework and to find something special about the guest, and to make a special gesture in the room. So, for example, like Mark, are you a Liverpool fan? No, which football team are you supporting? And then they will put something like especially for you, saying like, okay, the games are on this channel at this time, or like a small scarf, or like whatever it is. And this kind of very small gesture make a huge difference on the guest expectation, the guest reviews, and everything. Even if you don't have the payroll or the money to hire someone full time, just give this kind of guideline to your team. I just want one guest, one wow moment per day. One, that's it.
Yeah.
One per
Yeah.
day, and it will add up, and you will see on socials, you will see on guest reviews, and that will add up.
And back to your point earlier, Thibaut, where you say like, dear Thibaut, I think maybe 7 years ago we might have been impressed with that being my name being in the email. It's now an expectation. If you call me dear guest, instantly I know I'm getting a one size fits all email. So I expect my name to be there. It's not a wow. That's no longer a wow moment. So we shouldn't see that as a wow moment. Where it becomes more wow is, dear Mark, can't believe you've been with us 5 times in the last 24 months. Thanks so much. Oh, they know who I am. They're recognizing who I am.
Yeah,
Instantly, I'm engaged and I want to be part of this,
Absolutely. I used to call them professional stalkers because I used to work for Ritz-Carlton, and it was the same thing, right? You always had like this person who knew everything about the guests and who had already the pictures up and all the stuff. It was just insane to me what kind of work they put in just to have like this special moment for the guests. And I think with tech, these personal stalkers, like professional personal stalkers, can work even better because they can just connect the dots from different points and touch points we have with the guest. Super cool. So to build a bridge now, I think because we were talking about expectations, I think also what is important is to understand the guests when they now look for a hotel, how they're comparing online and what is the decision making process there. So we come to our second poll to include our audience yet again. So it will pop up in a second. There we are. What element do you think influences the booking decision most when guests compare hotels online? So is it really price and value? Is it reviews and the reputation itself, the room design, comfort, clear and helpful information on the website or the OTA? So for me personally, I would stock, if I go on vacation, I would stock everything out of the hotel and look for price, value, reviews, all of it. I look at the pictures, I look at the hotel, but it's because I work in this business. I think a lot of you do the same thing, but we're talking about guests that are not coming there from the background. So let's see. Reviews and reputation, I see, is the most clicked on. I think that's definitely something that I'm looking first at. I think most of you as well. And so I will head over to our question or questioning our not our audience, but our panelists yet again. Oh my goodness, I need a coffee after this. So how do you think, to all of you, how do you think will guests choose the hotel? So coming from this poll, seeing that it's reviews and reputation, what do you think? How do they will choose? Is it still kind of like the price, or what is the main change from like what we came from in the past, where really price was a factor and is now yet again a factor because obviously we have inflation and everything is a bit price sensitive. So is there anything you can highlight in that aspect that you think is important? Maybe Maria, start with ladies first.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think there's no denying that price is always important, let's be real. But I think when we're kind of diving in deeper, something that I have seen kind of over the last couple of months, years, maybe, talking, engaging with guests, and that kind of comes back to, that hybrid guest where we don't have these typical personas anymore or segment travelers. I think one thing that I have heard a lot is that, a lot of times people look at how well does a property that I'm interested in staying at fit kind of my whole bill. So I'm talking, about the fact that my modes kind of will shift throughout the stay. So I'm thinking, does the property have kind of like work ready spaces for when I need to work. But is there also, an aspect, for example, around wellness? I think, wellness has become such a buzzword. Everyone's talking about wellness travel these days.
Absolutely.
I know you guys did a webinar on that very recently as well. So it's really kind of the hottest thing. I think like wellness is not something that we kind of like our personal wellness that we forget about when we travel. I think it's quite the opposite now. Like even if we're traveling mostly for business and we're looking for, as I said, those kind of like work ready spaces, we're also looking for hotels that can still cater to our personal health and wellness needs, So like, are there any restorative, wellness options available within the hotel? I think even taking that a step further for me personally, and I think for many people, food, is a big factor of wellness, So are there any, good food options either within the hotel or within the proximity of the area? And also kind of thinking about, I think we touched a little bit on that, local meaningful experiences. Are there any experiences within the hotel that I can part in? I know we actually talked a little bit about this backstage. So community, like experiences within the hotel, within the property that I can be part of to, for example, like after I'm done with my work, or maybe in the morning before I head to my meeting or whatever it is. So I think like what we're seeing is that, yes, price is obviously always important. Yes, reviews and reputation, that's important. So for example, like if I've spoken to a friend of mine and they have recommended this property, I mean, that's a plus. But I think we're seeing more and more that people will look also at the overall package a hotel can offer. And I don't mean a traditional package. I really mean more like,
but like the information. The information that the hotels provide. So actually we are ready. When we look back into the poll, clear and helpful information is what do you think could be one huge aspect to what is the hotel providing me? What is the best thing? So Thibaut, you're coming from the revenue side, and for you, obviously, price is hot. What do you think? Real quickly, in 2 sentences, is like important to choose a hotel?
Price is important, definitely, because we have all different price elasticity, which is not something to keep in mind for sure. But maybe I'm not a typical revenue managers, because I will tell you, we have more and more emotional decision making, emotional logic when we choose a place, and we will think like, okay, does this place feel right? In a way, we look at reviews, we look at the influencers, we look at just to see the information are right, the website is right. So there is also an emotional logic, which we see more and more coming into place. Yes, price is important, data are important, but these emotional figures is something which is coming back and which is shifting more and more. We see, and I believe this shift will happen as well. We are seeing also less loyalty to brands and more loyalty to experiences and trust signals. And trust signals can come from a lot of different channels. It can come from the OTA, it can come from social media, TikTok. I've seen some case studies of hotels with like one reel on TikTok doubling the occupancy. I don't know why, but it's what I mean. So the logic behind the decision to choose one hotel or another is changing completely from one day to another, and I believe it will continue to shift, and we need to be ready for this shift.
Absolutely. And I think TikTok is a great example for that, because in social media, this is where you can actually build your emotion towards your brand and towards your hotel, where you can actually get people. I totally agree with you. And coming to, because I think, Thibaut, you gave already some good examples here, but Mark, maybe you have some practical changes that hotels can make towards guest experience to meet people's expectations better and in the decision process. Is there anything you can give our audience?
I'm going to throw maybe a little something different into the mix here, something we need to think about that's been a shift this year, and I think is going to be a big player next year. I have I live in Edinburgh. I'm down in London now for work travel, and I organized and booked this trip through ChatGPT. And I think that's going to start being a much bigger factor. I threw in all my requirements and into my prompt and basically just spoke to it and said, this is what I need to do, and this is where I need to be at whatever times. And it spat out the answers, and I've gone with that. So I think we're going to start seeing more of that. That answers everything that's in the poll, right? Because it's reading the reviews and reputation, it's checking your information on the website, it's deciding on price, it's doing all these things for you. But I think that's going to start being a much bigger factor, and so I think that needs to be paid more attention to. I think that's something that's only going to grow, and we've never seen a technology be adopted as quickly as what we've seen over the last 12 months with AI. So certainly something we should be watching.
Absolutely. And I think this is already kind of like a good bridge to one question I had to Maria and Thibaut, because you were talking about the AI aspect, and I did that this summer too. I booked my trip to Greece through ChatGPT. Thibaut, Maria, is there a piece of advice, and I'm already kind of yielding into this direction. Is there a piece of advice that you would give hotels now to stay competitive for the next couple of years, and to focus on something rather than on something totally silly? Like when we talk about LLM, for example, like building a website that is LLM ready and not only SEO and SEA ready. Everybody's like, yeah. No, but like, is there anything you would give hotels now? So if you could look into the future and you would see a specific thing happening and you would say, okay, this is my advice, please do this now before everything is too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in order to answer that question, maybe I think there's two different kind of options that we would have to look at here. I think we would have to differentiate maybe between a property or a hotel that has already started to implement AI into their business versus maybe a hotel or a property that has not done anything about AI yet. So I think, if you're a property that hasn't done anything about AI and doesn't really know where to start, I think maybe a good kind of starting point is to start, little, very basic, like the channels you're already using, the things you're already doing. I would maybe explore and see if there's sort of an AI that you can add to that, kind of coming back to what I said before, where you can kind of free up a bit of time of taking away those very repetitive tasks that maybe your front of house crew is doing, like messaging guests with literally the same information every single day, several times. So, I think that's kind of like a very easy way to make your life as the hotelier a lot easier, and to really give your crew, your team, that opportunity to engage and to recognize, have more time with the guests to recognize what's going on with them. So I think that's probably kind of a good place
to start.
Okay.
And what about you, Thibaut? Anything in terms of AI that will switch and be used very easily and very quickly for a hotel?
But first of all, I'm laughing because we were here talking about AI, LLM, agent, and so on. But the sad reality is that the majority of the market don't have a tech stack, which is okay, and they don't even know what. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and I believe the hospitality industry is still at a very basic level. Every day, not every day, every week, I'm still talking with some clients, and they tell me, like, okay, I don't have any PMS. I do my check-in, check-out on a Google Calendar, on an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about AI and agent with this person. So you see what I mean? I agree with Maria saying, like, fix the basics first, making sure you have the right tech stack in place that support your decision and your operation. Start with the fundamentals, and then you can build up with more innovation. So think about Don't innovate for the sake of innovation. Innovate for the sake of the guest and your employees and your hotel. So ask yourself, why do I need to innovate? Why do I need to embrace this new technology? And then everything will start to make sense. So yeah, start with the basics and then build on top of it.
Yeah.
And I believe my number one recommendation for success in the next few years, it's about don't be scared of experimenting. I will say, like, even throw away the current playbook that you know about hospital industry. Create your own playbook, experiment, test, see what is working, continue. Is not working, stop, do something else. I'm taking the case of revenue management. I believe right now we are at the tipping point where revenue management will change, needs to change. A lot of people are saying like revenue management will disappear, revenue managers will disappear in the next 5 years. I agree and disagree because I believe it will change. And I believe we are shifting from revenue management to something I call ERO, experimental revenue optimization, where revenue managers are becoming like much more like alchemists or scientists, where they keep experimenting, they keep a record of the experiment, the tests they have done, they learn, they continue. Because what has been working for your neighbor may not be working for you, and reverse. But it's up to you to find out. So take risk, experiment with tech, with approach, with whatever you want. Keep experimenting, keep learning, and see what stick. I think that's a success. That's a playbook for the success.
Absolutely. And I have to add to this, because I think a lot of hoteliers are hesitant to experiment, because they think, oh, it's gonna hurt, because it's gonna take a lot of time. My employees will not be able to do so, and so on and so forth. I think there is also a shift in that, and it doesn't hurt as much as it used to hurt when we still were working on spreadsheets and Fidelio, Suite 8 and all this stuff, where it really was really hard to implement new things. But now with like the PMSs, the channel managers, and all these other beautiful technology that we now have, it's not as hard anymore as it used to be. And Mark, maybe you have one more advice for our hoteliers and people in the audience. What can we easily change? What do you think?
Sure. I you know, what I highlighted earlier was guests are already exploring with all of this. Guests are already. I've just done it. You know, Julia, you just mentioned you just booked your last holiday that way. We're not the only people doing it, because from a guest point of view, it's really easy. I just go to ChatGPT. I don't even have to type. I just talk to it, and it gives me what I need. How can we start to do this from a hotelier's point of view? Well, that's a more challenging thing, right? How can I provide that right information, make sure that that sits in the right place? That's a lot more challenging. And the steps towards getting there is having integrated solutions, right? It's about bringing the data together. The technology now exists to surface this information in such a great way, in such an easy to use way, that the guests can digest it. But it has to come from somewhere, and that information has to be consolidated. So if you want to start to provide that personalized guest experience that we were talking about a little bit earlier, that really start to make that guest feel like an audience of one instead of just room 201, then that guest data all needs to be together, and it needs to all come from various silos of information. Not to get all techie and geeky about it, but I think what happened with in the journey of tech is we've gone out and said, oh, we've got a cloud-based PMS, fantastic, and every team went, let's go explore the marketplace and add more, and we've all added bits of software that have really helped and improved guest journeys and all of that type of thing. But now we have guest data living in multiple different places, and it makes it harder then to provide that personalized experience, and harder then to utilize tools like AI to really take it that next step and provide that positive wow moment. So what can we do? Make sure that your tech stack is properly integrated, that the data is moving in two ways, that it's always coming together, allowing you to take that next step.
Absolutely. And Mark, I couldn't agree more, and I think everybody else as well. It's just probably a little bit hard to grasp for some of our hoteliers. So before we move to our Q&A sessions, I want to quickly check one last time in with our audience and see our final poll popping up hopefully now. So based on everything we talked about today, guest bookings, technology, What is it that feels like the biggest challenge that you're gonna face next year? What is it that you are most afraid of? What's happening? So adjusting to what we talked before about hybrid guests, like our leisure guests, whatever you call them, standing out online and driving the bookings and getting started with AI or automation. So I'm seeing here B is coming out, standing out online and driving bookings. I think this comes also to something that maybe we mentioned in terms of ChatGPT and how to stick out there and how to make my website LLM ready, etc., etc. But maybe we can discuss this in the Q&A session. So if you have any questions regarding this is now your time to shine. We have amazing people in our panel, so hopefully we can get some Q&A questions back into here. So thank you so much, first of all, to the panel, to these great discussions. And I really hope that we do have already some questions. There is one from Laura I can see. Nice. Data is still so fragmented, making true personalization difficult. Where is the source of truth for hotels? Still the PMS? How does the F&B team come with a bottle of red wine or white wine Mark ordered on his last trip? Mark, since you made this comment, maybe you want to give us a little insight.
Great question, Laura. And it's challenging, right? It's challenging, and how do we make sure that all that data feeds back into the same place? It depends where it's all living at the moment. Is the PMS still the source of truth? Can it house all of that information? Typically, and this will depend on the tech stack that you've chosen, but typically your PMS is your home for reservations, and your CRM, or now CDP, customer data platform, is your home for the information about your guests. So where you can store all that information about your guests. And that's everything from your PMS, your spa booking software, your table booking software, etc. So if you can bring that all together and say that, and I am in many instances, like I said, it depends on the tech stack. We talk about utopia here. We would say things like, well, now I know that Mark stayed 3 times, and on 2 of his visits, he did a spa treatment, and on all 3 of his visits, he booked dinner. And so his typical spend with us is this much, and he likes to stay on average 3.2 nights. And how do we get to the point where we learn all of that information? That's about connected information and connected data. And of course, I'd say this coming from BookBoost, but I would argue that source of truth is your CDP.
I agree absolutely. Not only because I'm also from BookBoost, but I've seen this, and you are absolutely right. I think this comment about the PMS is your source of reservations, and then you should have a separate system, if that's now a CRM or a CDP, or there are different other terms where guest data should sit and be centralized, and from there you can actually decentralize again for your own kind of an analysis. I'm sorry, Thibaut, anything you would add to this?
I agree. All the system needs to be connected to each other, and then the beauty of AI is that it can make sense of all those kind of fragmented data and combine and get you an output which makes sense. And if anyone is listening and looking to build a new startup, I believe there is a space for an AI guest intelligence platform where you actually combine all those data and you give a good output out of it. I believe that's most of what the CRM and what most of the PMS are trying to do now, and that's the kind of direction which is going to combine all the data in an output which makes sense, and we can use and act on at the front office at the hotel level.
But there's that, we talk about hallucinations in AI. There's almost the concern I see from hoteliers is that if I don't have that base level where I feel like I can trust the data, then it doesn't matter what AI is telling me, because I'm not sure if I can trust what it's telling me. So we need to make sure we're bringing all the data into one place, that we know it's all the source of truth.
But then it goes back to the human element, because you can have the best strategies, the best data, the best content output from any kind of AI and systems. But if you don't trust in the beginning, that's worse. I have sometimes some strategy that keeps going back from ChatGPT, and they're like, yeah, but that's rubbish. And then I tell them the same, and so makes sense. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's all about communication. It's all about trust, and it's all about those kind of communications. So human, AI, tech. I think that's a good combination. Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next question. We have one small question. It's about GDPR. I mean, obviously, this is a topic that about guest data that we all need to kind of figure out or have figured out in the past years, and it's been over our heads. Any comments on that, Maria? Since you're in that field as well, anything? I mean, the question is quite broad here, so let's see if we can narrow it down a little bit. A GDPR is a topic. How can we make it, tangible and set up in our tech stack that it's easy for us to handle? Any ideas? Any tips here?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, not something I personally deal with too much with data protection and
Okay.
those sort of things. But I mean, it's a very sensitive topic. And as you said, the question is obviously quite broad. So maybe, Oliviera, I think if you want to come back and maybe elaborate a little bit more on what exactly you're looking for, I think that would be great. And we could kind of come back maybe on that. But I mean, yeah, it's a very sensitive topic. And I mean, it's so different from like the country your hotel, your property is operating in. There's so many local regulations, even sometimes within countries. So yeah, very challenging, to be honest, for me to say much more about.
And
I'm so sorry.
Oliviera, maybe you can drop us afterwards a quick note via email or via LinkedIn, and we can discuss this in outside of this, because our time is actually up. But we have two really great questions that I still quickly want to discuss. Many, if not most, hotels do not represent their dining or wellness offer properly, let alone in external channels. Could they show a little bit more and do more? And I think, Mark, I just saw you like open your mouth.
Yes. There's such a trend towards wellness, and we talk about personalization. We talk about experience. Like, if you're not highlighting all the things that they're going to be able to experience at the property, then you're losing out. You're not giving them that full scope of what they can do and how they can engage. And if I'm sure Thibaut would say, from a revenue point of view, if you're not highlighting all the various areas that you can get more percentage of wallet on their trip, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So yes, absolutely highlight those areas. People might be coming for a stay, but they need to eat and they want to do a workout and they want to do those things too. So that should.
Do you have also a tip on how to do that? Because now you said yes, they should, but how?
I think it just needs certainly on your website. It can't just be a little footnote or what did I see somebody else post the other day or something about, a gym shouldn't just be a broom closet down in the basement that's been converted. That's not a gym, right? So make sure you're highlighting exactly what it is that you've got. But give it a bit more space, give it a bit more exposure, because people are looking for it. It's definitely a trend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you can also, but once the guest checked in the hotel, you can then still kind of engage with them through various channels that you can utilize, like WhatsApp and so on. Just while they're in the hotel, just be like, hey, last time you asked for the gym, would you like to go with us on a run? We offer this running group or whatsoever. Or for the restaurant, I think that's also quite important to understand, like, hey, if I still have tables available in my hotel restaurant and I still haven't checked on my guests, like, hey, book a table now and you get a drink for free or whatsoever through WhatsApp while they're in your hotel, right? I think that is definitely something that you can do to actually engage your guests while you're still, earning some money, hopefully here, right? So it's different channels that you can utilize for this. Anyone would like to add to this real quickly? Because we are really over time and I don't want to stretch anybody's afternoon here.
Yeah, maybe just one very quick thing. So couldn't agree more with everything that you guys said, but I think, it's so important to like showcase what you have, because just as you said, the guest wants to know what they're paying for. And I think, kind of plays into the next question as well. Someone was asking here about how can you optimize your website for ChatGPT. I think if you have all your, let's say, basic information on your website, like that's a must, like guests need to understand, do you have a gym? Do you have a swimming pool? Do you have a kids club? Like whatever it is. I think there's nothing more infuriating, than if you're traveling and, coming back to this kids example, like when you're trying to find out, like, okay, do they have any child-friendly amenities, or what does the room look like? How will my sleep quality be if I have to share a room with my toddler, or, like little things like that. But I think also, like you said, Julia, there's different channels you can use here. And at the end of the day, they will all feed back into ChatGPT, for example, or any other AI guests are using. Because if you use that opportunity to, have your basic information on your website, and then, for example, link to your TikTok, link to your Instagram, do a bit of more storytelling there, like, okay, this is our gym. These are maybe the classes you're offering or the experiences you're offering. All of this information can be pulled by AIs, and all of this information, the more that's out there, that's the beauty of AI. The more that's out there, the more AI can, make use of and feed back to your potential guests who are looking at your property. So I think you really have to use, all the tools that are available to you. And that's I think that kind of answers a bit both of those questions.
Yeah. And one other thing that is, I think, also important is you're not alone here. There are definitely other hoteliers that have the same issue, to not know how do I make my website ChatGPT ready. First of all, ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It can help. But also
Absolutely.
there are agencies out there that are already specialized on this. Thibaut, maybe you have one note on this.
Yeah, I guess that's a $1 million question, and I do believe many people, even if they tell you they things they know to influence the result on ChatGPT, they don't. So that's currently the beauty of it. However, I will say I've tested with different pages. I will say like the best result we get, and even on Google ranking, which are the same, by the way, the SEO fundamentals are still applicable to ChatGPT and all those kind of AI searches, which are very important. But then I believe nowadays, for example, if you do some blog posts or if you do some content on your pages, which are 100% generated by AI, all the algorithm will actually thank you. They will decrease your ranking. So I will say like write like you speak. And the more human the system recognize it is, the more higher you will increase your chances. And then make sure you have some bullet points, which is very simple languages, and making sure you have all the information. And then making sure you show up on the media, you have some backlink, the more the better to show up on this. And I will say as well, a quick thing, be ready as well for the increase of AI agents. A very basic things which I recommend all my hotel to do is that you go on ChatGPT, you do the agent, and you do like, can you book me a room for tonight at my hotel? And then you will see like the full screen sharing of the cursor of ChatGPT trying to book your hotel. And you will see like if your website is actually ready for this or not. And I can give you already a spoiler. Most of the brands which I know are not ready for this. So even if you're a small one, but you invest the right money and energy on making sure you are ready for the agent, you can gain a lot of market share thanks to this.
Wow, Thibaut, I think that was a great tip for everyone here who was curious about this. I think even I learned something here about ChatGPT. I didn't know about the agent that you can actually do the whole journey there. So thank you so much for these great insights to all of you, Thibaut, Maria, Mark, and our audience. It was such a great vibe today, and I really hope that we'll see you next year again with another webinar maybe. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day.